Okay. So we'll start again on the line. It's about the third down the page. Tzadik Vov. The line begins with the word Rag HaChitzonius. So we're saying that initially that when there is an acceptable understanding, so this Yashev AYIN, that it kind of finds a place in his mind, this is initially due to what's called Hanocha B'Nefesh. Talking about the Sichli. We're talking about the Nekudas HaChochma. The Sichli aspect. The Sichli aspect means, as we discussed a lot, that which makes sense. Which is not based on the principle of Hasoga, on the logical structure, but rather on the principle that the inyan itself makes sense. This is called Hanocha B'Nefesh. This Hanocha B'Nefesh is an intelligent Hanocha, although it is not something which has been acquired through an intellectual process, but rather it is a sense in the seichel of how the inyan is. And then subsequently, when one approaches this hanocha, this insight, to try to have a perspective, so to speak, and put it in logical terms, the insight itself is then obscured. It's lost, because now he's approaching it from a logical perspective, and he lost the principal insight. And through a logical process, it's not possible to fully understand this sin and to comprehend this sin. It doesn't. The logical process allows only the chitzonius of the seichel, not the nekudas haseichel and the nekudas hamitis, the truth of it. Therefore, it is necessary at this point to revisit, so to speak, and go back to that which he felt when he sensed as being the sichli, the hanocha nefesh. And it makes sense to him because it makes sense. In this retrieving it back, this now provides the inspiration for a full understanding of the inyan. So this is the line. This is where we're going to start inside. The line begins with Hach HaChitzonius. The Hana HaSichli Levad, the Chitzonius means the Sichli Levad, only the Seichel, only the procedural aspect of the Seichel, not the insight. Ukshemaschil HaSig HaYinyan. No, I'm sorry, I went back. UbHaSichli, and if it were dependent.
What line was that?
What page are we on? Can I ask him?
What line?
The line begins with the word Rag HaChitzonius.
Okay.
It's that page I can't see from the lines. Thank you.
The HaChitzonius means the Hainu HaSichli Levad, which means only the Sichli, not the Hanocha B'Nefesh. Not the sense of truth, but rather than the they find it makes sense. Why it makes sense, the sichli element itself, he does not find, so to speak, calm just due to the sichli. As much as he may be convinced of it, nonetheless, it is still kind of fluttering. So what is the next step to reach a state where he has both? He has the sichli, and he also has the calm, the hanocha. It is that he should reconnect. You need this he should pay attention, focus in to depth and the pnimis of the Inyan. We discussed yesterday, I think, extensively the words the depth and the pnimis, the internals of this Inyan. Meaning, what gives this Inyan a right of being, a basis. Not how it's understood from an observer's perspective. But what is the essence? Where does it come from? What provides for its being, so to speak? Where is it coming from? He has to reconnect to the depth of Pnimis. I'll explain 1 second. As he had it when it was kind of settled in his mind. Hanocha means he was settled without question. Vehu, what is the experience at that point? Sheyargish yoiser ha'hanocha sichlis. Once he already understood it, he already put it in, so to speak, in logical terms. But he is lacking a sense of calm, a sense of reality. So if to go back to Hargish Yisr, he should have more of a sensitivity, a sense of Hanocha Sichlis, of the Hanocha Sich. Hanocha Sichlis means that it's a concluded principle, that this is the way, the lake from the minyan. When he recognizes and he relates to the acceptance of the senior. This is the way it is. This provides a koyach, provides the substance, the support for the sichli itself. Sichli means the process of seichel. So as we've explained the whole time, the process of seichel does not provide for full acceptance. Process always leaves a question further and further. It doesn't give him, so to speak, calm and a conclusive view. Behind that process, there is what's called hanocha sichlis, the sense that that which does give him a sense of calm. But there is a sort of a contradiction, because when he is involved in the process, he loses the feel of calm. And if in the calm, he doesn't have the sichli. The sichli obstructs, conceals the hanocha sichlis, because the sichli is all based on question and answer. So the plain hanocha sichlis, recognizing what the truth is obscured, because he's constantly questioning it, and therefore he loses the insight and loses the sense of truth. So what is the eitzah? What is ultimately the stance that one should take? One cannot exclude one over the other. You have to have both. You have to have the seichel process, because without the seichel process, it is kind of a distant inyan, not something that he had experienced, he had found, so to speak, in his own accord. On the other hand, this obscures the hanocha sichlis as it is known to his nefesh, as known to him at a deeper level. Therefore, what's necessary is that after he already has gone through the full process of understanding the structure of this seichel, he has to revisit, go back and remind himself of how he felt, what he saw when he had the hanocha sichlis. When he recognized the principal truth of this. At this moment, when he refreshes it, then it is no longer a contradiction, but rather this actually gives him support for the sichli. Where within the sichli he recognizes, aha, this is what this is all about. And therefore, and as a result of this, okay, this is the underline that means this supports a sichli, and that brings him to a state of hasoga, of full comprehension, what's called bina. Comprehension means he actually grasps it, and he puts it in a mitzias level, in a presence, in a worldly presence. Lahasig, to comprehend and grasp. Kol ma she'efshel lahasig b'inyan. Everything that is graspable in this inyan. There is the pnimis union that is not graspable because it's on the speaking lacks mitzias. It is a pnimistic union, but there is that which is graspable, and the anochis sichlis, the sense of its truth, provides the strength to support that which is graspable. Ultimately, he comes to a point where he grasps it in bina. This is the general process, how it goes. Initially, he struggles. Okay, let's revisit the entire process. He has an insight in Chokhmah. Chokhmah is completely above Seichel. It's the truth as it comes directly from the Nefesh. This Chokhmah manifests itself and expresses itself in what's called the hanocha, a nekuda sichlis, a nekuda haseichel. Nekuda haseichel is just a point which lacks elaboration, but it tells him that it gives him a point of seichel. This point needs to be elaborate. It needs to be broken through and brought out what is contained in this point. And this is what he attempts to do at first. He goes into this point, starts breaking up. This is the bina entering into the chokhmah. However, what happens at that point, to fully understand it is not possible because this is higher than Asagul. Yet it begins to make sense. And this making sense is what's called hanocha b'nefesh. Because the whole chokhmah originated from the nefesh. And this is called hanocha b'nefesh. We explained the principle of hanocha b'nefesh is that the worldly process also acquires a principal truth. Like we said, I don't want to go back to the whole thing. We said that it makes sense that in order to reach a certain destination, one has to go through a certain number of steps, even though the step seems to be a completely an inadvertent thing. Mitzad the Chochmah, I want to be there already. But it makes sense that if you want to, this is something which occurs in the world, and then therefore, and to reach it within the worldly context, you have to go through every step. And going through the steps itself has a sense of reality. This is called Hanocha B'Nefesh. Hanocha B'Nefesh is, this is real in the world, in a worldly context. And therefore, and worldly context means that it has a structure and you get to it via processing these steps. As he goes through this process, and he processes these steps and they begin to make sense, then he loses this sense of its initial, of its fundamental truth. Now it would seem to me, it seems to him that it is the steps that verify, that make it be, rather than the insight itself. And at this point, he has to revisit or remind himself of how he felt when he had the insight, and now the Hanocha Sichlis gives support to the structure of the Seichel. And they come together, so that the structure of this structure is no longer obscuring the Hanocha Sichlis. On the contrary, Hanocha Sichlis gives support and strengthens the whole phenomenon. Like we discussed in the last few days, that there is definitely a truth in the fact that there is a process in getting someplace. That in order to build a chair, you have to have 4 legs, and each leg has to be attached independently, individually. The various illustrations that we have brought forth, and they each have a principle reality to them. And this ultimately comes to what's called Soga Debin. We started from Chochmah, we come in the Nekudas HaSkola, and then it comes to Hasoga Debina. Hasoga Debina means that there's a full understanding via utilizing all the details that are inherent in the seichel. And the details then do not obscure, do not interfere with sensing the total reality and total truth of it. Again, let's take one of the illustrations that we've used in the past, and in this case, this will bring it home. A home consists of several rooms. These rooms complement the home. They don't obscure what a home is. They don't say the home is not a real thing, it's a structure of several. No. The homes complement and they bring out the truth of what a home is. And similarly, a dining room, the furniture in the dining room do not obstruct the concept of a dining room. On the contrary, they substantiate it. Excuse me. Okay.
Must I ask something?
Yeah.
It sounded that when after he has the Hanukkah, the original Hanukkah, he comes to the Prutim, then he is involved just with Prutam and not with the Hanukkah. And it's supposed to be like this.
Right. What happens is the Hanocha gets obscured, gets lost at that point. Why? Because when you get into the Protim, it appears to you, the Protim becomes so adamant and becomes so they encompass, they grasp the whole reality, and they say the whole thing is only due to the structure of this protein. And you lose sense of the reality. Let's get to the marshal of the chair. We spoke about when tables. We say all the time that a table and a chair have a root in the nefesh order. But when you get to understand all the details of the chair has ultimately 4 legs, and you can sit comfortably in it. You say the whole thing of a chair is that it has 4 legs and you can sit comfortably. There's no human spirit in it, there's no human dignity in it, it's just the comfort. You lose sense of what's called the Hanocha benefesh, which is a nefesh inyan. If a chair consisted only in comfort, there would be no difference where the chair is standing and what its design is, and so forth. But there is definitely a need for COVID in this whole in the whole phenomenon of a chair, which is a deeper a human element. When you get into the details of the chair, you lose sense of that. This is what the Rebbe is saying.
Yeah, but I'm trying to ask if you lose sense, but you should lose sense while you're doing it. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to build a chair.
That's right. You can only build a chair by applying yourself to the details.
And it doesn't go together while you're starting to build it.
That's correct. If you are, when you are involved in what's called in the Hanocha of a nefesh, you cannot bring yourself to get involved in banging a nail in. A moil, everybody knows what a moil is, once asked the Rebbe RASHAB, what kavanah should he have when he does the milah? The Rebbe RASHAB answered him, he should have a kavanah to a finish, good abschneiden. He should make a good straight cut. That's the kavanah he should have when he has the milah.
Okay, Rabbi, how does one, in all this process, as I understand you describing it, of Hanochas HaNefesh, isn't there a danger of, if it's all internal, how do you avoid self-delusion and self-aggrandizement? Comforting yourself for a wrong sichli, a prejudice. The Jews, it's obvious. They're not us. They have to be kicked out of the country. How do we avoid pitfalls like that?
The Hanocha b'nefesh is not a Hanocha b'nefesh that I created. Hanocha b'nefesh is that which was granted to me by the Creator of the world. And as such, it He gives the sense that there is value to the whole creation.
To the whole creation.
And that your place in this creation is to reveal and to enhance its value. Not to enhance your value, but to enhance the value of the creation.
That has to be before everything.
That is contained in this Anocha. This is what the Anocha Sichlis comes from. He said, Oymek Pnimis Oyim. What is the truth behind it? If you lack a sense of truth, a sense of dedication to the truth, you will never have this. This is all.
We said inside that the details substantiate the point. We've had a few days of how every step of the journey has an element of truth within it. Yet today's focus seems to be how the details actually obscure the central, the main point.
Right, so that's what we said. That that at some point in time, the detail will obscure the sense, and at that point, it doesn't really make sense. In other words, it makes sense as detail, but it loses sense of what this is all about. That's what he said. At that point, when he already has gone into the details, he has to go back and say, but where did this all come from? What brought me here? He has to go and revisit the Anocha Sichlis that he had prior to developing the details. And now the Anocha Sichlis illuminates and gives strength to the details, to the structure.
So there's always a back and forth.
That's right. Ultimately, it comes to the point of Hasoga Bina, where Bina comprehends the truth of it. Where there is not a separation. It is a structure, and that's how it has to be.
It is a structure, and that's how it has to be. That sounds like there's some kind of resolution between the point and the details.
But it is when you understand the richness and the depth of what was contained in the Chokhmah, and now you comprehend it in your own seichel. It's called Hasoga de Bina. The short and long of it is I make a step, and in the step I occupy just this amount of space as my foot needs. Am I standing on this space, or am I standing on the entire earth? All I need is this space. So in Hasoga de Bina you have this understanding. Yes, you only need this space. But in order to stand firmly on this space, you have to have the sense that this is part of the big earth. Although all you need is this little step. This little illustration, it's not about mamash a macro situation, but we have mentioned it in many different levels. A chair. We said many times, a bed is a bed in a home. A bed in the street is not a bed. You can stretch out, but it doesn't provide for a bed. We said many times, a person will have a better rest at home on a cot than in a cushion mattress elsewhere, even in a hotel. There's a certain truth behind it. Let me just go through quickly to get to the next step over here. Okay. At the end of the line that begins with the word Hashgacha Anocha Sichlis. This reintroduction of the Anocha Sichlis provides koyach, a force, a strength, a substance in the sichli. In the sichli means in that which is understandable in the structure of the inyan. B'yosid. Yosid means excessively. It gives you tremendous power to this. Or to the point where it brings him to hasoga with bina, to a comprehension, of full comprehension the way it is in bina. Bina is a koyach hanefesh that have full comprehension of that which is in chokhmah. Lahasik, to comprehend kol ma shebe'ef shel lahasik b'inyan, everything that is comprehensible in this inyan. What now enables this hasoga? This is the oil as hanoch sichlis that is higher than the whole comprehension. Okay, the next line. Okay, noida beinin riyad chochma. Riyad chochma over here is used as a moshel to understand the effect of hanoch sichlis. Okay, noida is known beinin riyad chochma. When we discuss about the inyan of Riyad Chochma, Riyad Chochma means Chochma. You always know Chochma is like sight. We all know what the Riyad Chochma. We know what sight is, Baruch Hashem. And here, I'm going to stop off for a moment. I just want to give you a little perspective. As I said, the Riyad Chochma over here is used to alert us to the inyan what Hanoch Sichlis provides for. Riyad Chochma. So let's go back to sight, physical sight. If you have a labyrinth of streets, and one street leads into the other, and the other into the other. Ultimately, by following these directions, you can get to your destination. You can get to your destination just following these streets and the twists and turns. However, if following these twists and turns, you will not have a sense that you are in a sense of reality. You're just following blindly the direction of the street. But if you had an overview, you had the ear, you saw how these streets interrelate, and how Avenue A leads into Avenue B, and Avenue B leads into Avenue C, and so forth. And you know how this is the whole design, and the map of it, clearly. Then, while you are in a labyrinth of streets, you still have a sense of a reality. This is what he says over here in these words. That in the Chochmah is Meir shines the etzem, the reality itself. That is completely above Hasod. We can even demonstrate this in our little labyrinth of streets. It's true that one street leads to the other. But if you have a complete view of the area, you don't go through the streets. You see the proximity of point A versus point Z. You cannot contemplate this move from point A to point Z. In order to get there, you have to go through all A, B, C, D. But in your vision of this reality, you do see how they correlate. And this correlation, this view, this is what provides for setting up a labyrinth of streets. To reach from point A to point Z. Because there's a fundamental and an initial relationship between them. It isn't the streets that connect them.